We're going to be talking about multimedia for science communicators, and my name is Jay Heinz. I work at the Morehead Planetarium. We make science videos that get projected onto the big domes, and I also teach documentary video at the University of North Carolina Journalism School.
My name is Kelly Izlar, and I'm a master's student in the journalism school at UNC, studying medical and science journalism. And I worked with Jay last summer to develop a multimedia bootcamp for science communicators.
Yeah, so a little bit of background. The journalism school at UNC has been doing a multimedia bootcamp not for scientists, but for, originally it was created for photographers to learn multimedia, and then sort of morphed throughout the years. But we've been doing that for about 10 years, and we've gotten more and more science and health communicators that have been coming to this. So we thought, oh, it would be an interesting idea to do this specifically targeted at those people. And so we've done surveys to try to figure out what people would like to learn. And I assume everybody in here is some sort of science communicator or scientist or journalist. But we really want to get some feedback and maybe have a conversation about what you're interested in learning and what you could get out of something like this. So the original bootcamp is a 5-day program from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, and it's just hardcore learning about video, interactive. You learn a little bit of Flash, you learn a little bit of WordPress. Some years, you learn a little Photoshop, a little this and a little that. So we did some surveys about what science communicators would like to learn.
And some of you actually might have taken this survey, thank you very much, last summer. But it's kind of what you would expect from science communicators that you want to learn. The highest hits were definitely video, learning how to edit, shoot, and gather that information, and interactive visualizations, graphics, and then posting that information to the web. But we didn't get detailed enough in the questions, so we're really hoping that you guys can help us with what you think would be most useful for yourselves to learn, or for people that you think should know more, and they're actually talking about science.
And I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that most people here don't necessarily do multimedia, that they're mostly bloggers or writers. I've met a few people who do audio, but not a lot of video people, not a lot of interactive people. So if anybody has any ideas, yeah.
So I work at the Heinz Medical Institute. We produce a fair amount of multimedia, but we are pretty restricted to audio, slideshows, and video. What I'm interested in is tools that increase the expense of creating custom interactive info packets. Because right now, that's where we have data showing us what our readers want, what they like, but it's so expensive to hire programmers, and we can't really justify the expense, so it shows very well. It's pretty interesting to consider.
So you're talking like map creation, timeline, anything else?
Well, it depends on the piece, but sometimes, even a custom displaying audio with imagery, it's not a standard audio slideshow. This is sort of more customized to the story. I don't know, maybe there's no simple solution, it's just you have to have a programmer to do that sort of thing.
So you want like a little guide to the free tools on the internet that'll let you do cool things?
That would be useful, or maybe some even basic coding. Mm-hmm. That's some JavaScript coding.
Yeah, and, it's funny, a lot of the feedback we got was that people wanted to learn Flash. But my experience is that unless you really know Flash and you really know ActionScript, you can't do anything.
It's an understanding of what's difficult and what's achievable, and helps you understand how to plan your budget for people that you're hiring. Okay. So that even that background knowledge would be useful. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how to talk to the people who are doing the work. Yeah.
How to know what's cost effective.
Okay. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Does anybody want to learn multimedia? And yeah.
I think Animoto is a tool that's probably a lot easier to use than Flash.
What is it?
Animoto. Has anybody used that? I've not used it personally.
And is it is it basically an interactive tool like Flash?
I don't think it's as complex, but you can kind of do some cool things with photos.
So it's sort of like creating videos with photos?
Yeah.
Okay. So just like slideshows of photos that you can do camera moves on them? Okay. Yeah.
I was going to, instead of, in a lot of cases, things you can do with Google Fusion tables, there's some of these things that are a lot more lightweight that can give you kind of a lot of different infographic, interactive visualization stuff. There's a whole suite of things that are a lot easier to use than getting into like Flash programming. And in all honesty, things with, say, using JavaScript and JSON or something like that to do some really light, like any of these sort of kits that are out there for, different kinds of visual interfaces are a lot easier in many cases than working with Flash. And it's much more of a sort of copy-paste HTML kind of experience than dealing with, I mean, you can see someone else's visualization and work off of it.
Right. Okay.
I'm a journalism grad student, and we were talking about a lot of us came to write, but then are realizing we need a lot more complex set of multimedia skills in tech. And everyone has said don't bother with Flash because it's dying. So I wonder what you think of that.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that camp. I mean, I think that it does have its uses, games and people make cartoons with it, and if you want an intro to a website, but it has a lot of drawbacks, and the iPhone doesn't support it, and I'm sure people here who are programmers could probably talk more to why you shouldn't use Flash, but yeah.
Well, for example, you can go with your search results for SEO.
Right. So Google can't index Flash very well. And there's a lot of things that JavaScript can do animation-wise that look just like Flash. Yeah.
I think one thing that might be helpful to these careers journalists is how to plan multimedia projects better. Because we have a limited amount of time, and so do you can staff with newspapers and magazines. If we're going to one-man band it, if we got a still camera and a video camera and audio gear in our notepad, what's a good way of planning, thinking through the process of shooting judiciously and setting up a scenario to kind of prepare ourselves for success? Because a lot of times I find myself bringing this gear out to the field, and then just and it's just getting in the way of the storytelling and reporting. And I feel like a lot of times that's because I didn't do it very well. So it feels like that sort of training we can do.
Because you have too much gear?
Not necessarily the gear problem, just we want to do some multimedia pieces, but we're going out to the field. What are some things we should be looking for in terms of where we shoot still, where we shoot video, just how to plan appropriately before you get to.
Okay. So what different types of multimedia are appropriate for the story? Sure.
Because I often feel like that's the question we need to ask before we can start a story: is how can we tell this best? And sometimes there's 2,000 word feature, but most of the time it's not. So and how to answer that question effectively and efficiently.
Right. Okay.
Just building off of that, since there's been a couple of questions with that science and we've been talking about the advantages of doing a podcast versus doing a video versus writing out a blog entry. When your time is limited and your resources are limited, how do you choose the right way of telling your story? And like we were saying, how do you find that out? Someone was saying for their podcast, they'll think ahead or bring the recorder or find a place where they can do the initial interview with the podcast in mind, or bring a thumb drive and ask the scientists when they're there in that initial interview. They can have photos or whatever they need for their project. So how do you choose the right multimedia for the story that you're telling, and how do you plan it out ahead of time so that you're not caught at the end thinking, oh, this would have been great to do an audio slideshow for us. I don't have anything.
Right.
I would also say, for me, what would be helpful is audio. we just started getting into doing some multimedia stuff at work, and so we bought a couple flip cams and a couple of those small HD cameras, and getting the pictures is real easy. We've realized when we do the interviews, the background noise and things like that really don't work so well, so the sound quality isn't very good. And I know there's a lot of different types of mics and things that you can do, but I know nothing about any of it. So I found that getting the pictures a lot easier than getting good quality sound.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what we've done in the past is had 3 days where we teach people the audio side of things and the video, how to gather audio and video and then how to edit those. But it's interesting, I just had a conversation with Rose in the back about if you're a reporter, you need to turn things around in an hour or two, and you don't necessarily need to have the most polished video and take a week to make it. So that got me thinking, wow, are we spending too much time going into too much detail? Do you need super polished videos, or do you need things that you can turn around in an hour or two and just get information out there?
Well, I would say that you should probably cover how to do the super polished ones, because to start with a smaller subset and say, here's how you do it quick and dirty, that's all you're ever going to be able to do. Right. You're better off starting big and working backwards. But I was also going to suggest that even though I've got a fairly good background in journalism, when I didn't bring all my stuff down here, but when I go to conferences in Canada that I want to cover, I've got a video camera, I've got a snowball mic, I've got an iPad, I've got a laptop, I've got a tripod. I have a fairly extensive set of gear, and quite frankly, just the basics of how do I pack all this stuff, and how do I get it through security and onto a plane in an efficient manner. I still don't think I know I don't have it right now. There's a digital SLR in there, and a flash, and
right. That's something I never.
And that kind of practical aspect of how do you head out on the road with all this crap,
right.
And then get to the other end and unpack it and do what you want to do, and then pack it all up and leave.
Right. Okay. Anybody else have any other thoughts about it? Yeah.
For people who are starting up their own, so for instance, I'm starting up my own magazine. We have a lot of people working together internationally, but we want to be able to have them communicate, create podcasts, videos, and we found ways to do it real cheap and dirty, but also get not have that trade-off where it's fast, but you're getting lesser quality audio or lesser quality video. So there's two things there. One is there's people who are not going to have a big budget to spend on fancy equipment. So what type of equipment would be acceptable for audio and visual? And then two, which is what I just said, is that if you have a large network of people spread across wherever, it doesn't matter, but spread across that can't meet in person, what's the best way for them to create good quality content?
Okay. Yeah, and speaking of that, one last question, if there's still time. So what we've taught in the past has been straight documentary style videos. And so I'm wondering, as science communicators, do you typically, if you were creating a video for whatever site you have, do you want to learn how to create educational videos or informational videos or a documentary style video? What kind of videos are you wanting to make?
Yes. But what if you only have 2 days to learn? Could you prioritize, or do you not want to? Is that
story driven is really, I think, instead of classifying it more in educational or informational, I just want to tell a good story. And, however that, if it happens to be through, the case of somebody talking about fracking song earlier and how good of a video that was that explains stuff, that's like a rap song, essentially. And so really, I just want to tell a good story and get the information out of that story.
Okay, but
if you can learn a good story arc, it doesn't matter whether you're doing a documentary or an educational video, as long as you've been able to learn, or in your case teach, what the story arc is and how to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right, but that's very different from a short sort of factual video.
Yeah, even a short factual video should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it should have an arc to it. It's a different process, right? And your end product is different, but It's got to have an opening, it's got to have a middle, and it's got to hand in hand.
Right, it's a different style and it's a different thing to teach. And when you have 3 days, you know, it's what do people want to learn more. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Anyway, that's my time's up, but I'm going to put our emails up on the board, and if you have any other ideas, I'd love to hear them. I also business cards if anybody wants them. Thank you.